Hello, I'm Dallin Randall with JB Water, a family-owned company. We've been around for about 30 years, and we're here to talk about water today. When it comes to life, there's a lot of things that we get to make choices about. We get to choose, we might do some research and find out what the safest car is, carefully research neighborhoods and figure out the safest place to live. Be careful about the food that we purchase, making sure that we're getting good nutrition into our bodies. But what about the water we drink? And just how important is that? Well, let's take a minute and talk about health and nutrition for a minute. When we think of being healthy, what do we think about? We think about lowering our calories, increasing exercise, no more midnight runs to Sonic, possibly joining a gym, taking some vitamins, going and talking to our doctor. But again, what about the water? It's important to realize, you probably learned this clear back in elementary school, that the body is about 60 to 70% water. The brain alone is 75%. Blood is 83%. Even the bones in our body are 22% water. Why is that? It's because water is used in every process the body performs, whether it's the excretion of toxins and waste, the transportation of good nutrients, or lubricating joints and regulating body temperature. Water is critical to good health. But does it really matter what kind of water we drink? Well, one thing you might think about is that we can live years without exercise. We can go for months without vitamins, weeks without food. But what about water? We can only go days without water. Water is only second to air as the vital elements of survival. You got air, water, and food. So water is important to our bodies and to our health. A couple lesser known facts out there is when you start to feel thirsty, then you are already dehydrated. And thirst doesn't kick in until you've already lost 1 to 2% of your water weight. At 3 to 4% dehydration, your physical performance, your strength, your ability to perform physically drops by 22%. So it's important that we drink lots of water and that we stay hydrated. In a little bit, we're going to talk about different water systems, and we're going to talk about how we can get clean water and how we can go to the store and know what to buy when we're buying a bottle of water. But let's just talk for a minute about water in general. Water outside of our bodies, water in the environment, water that the city feeds out to our homes and businesses. You can see with the slide in front of you that 69% of water is actually used for agricultural purposes. 6% is used for industrial, and 25% is used for municipal. Municipal is the water that goes to our home. Another little less known fact about water is just where our water comes from. We talked about how much water is used where, but did you know that about 2% of water out there is actually effluent or wastewater that's actually recycled and used for landscape irrigation? If you're driving down the freeway and you see the purple boxes or purple water lines, those are effluent or wastewater that's being recycled. Here in Arizona, 40% of our water comes directly out of the ground. It's been down there for hundreds of years. We're pumping it back up, treating it a little bit, and sending it on to people's homes. We get 19% from other areas of surface water, lakes, streams, etc., and 39% specifically from the Colorado River. With only 12.5 inches of rainfall per year, we need water from all of those sources. And the city's job is to balance that out so that we get as clean of water as we can to our homes. However, we know that water becomes contaminated in the environment around us. Now, I want you to think for a minute about water in our environment, where water is. We know there's water on the surface, there's water in the ground, and there's water up in the sky in the clouds. And the water that's in the sky, the water that's in the clouds, has actually been renewed. When it has been evaporated, that's the beginning of the hydrologic cycle, falls down as rain, and as soon as it does, it starts to pick up any air pollution, things that might be there, and anything from the ground that it comes in contact with, it's going to partially absorb or dissolve. Water is known as the universal solvent, and it's going to pick up anything and everything it comes in contact with, including industrial toxins and waste, gasoline additives, just about anything in our environment around us. If you're driving down the road and you see something off to the side, water comes in contact with it, it's going to end up back in the water supply somewhere, somehow. Recent bit of news that happened in August 2015, which is the month that we're actually recording this. We actually just had a big news article come out, has to do with up in Colorado, the ANIMAS River. And the EPA was trying to contain some old waste and toxins from a mine, had a breach in the dike, and huge amounts of this orange liquid flowed down into the ANIMAS River. And you can see a picture of before and after, and just the effect that it had. I mean, now you've got this huge line of orange goo coming down the river that's full of toxins and waste that they were trying to contain. The surprising thing is, it's really nothing new. Stuff like that's been happening for years. It's just this one happens to be a little more obvious because you can't ignore orange color. A lot of times it's not quite so obvious. So we know that stuff happens, stuff gets in the water. Here's a little slide that shows from a magazine from 1982 in the city of Mesa, which is where I live. My grandfather actually harvested this article back in 1982. We were in business then, and he liked it because it says, "Don't drink the water." And you can see the picture of a glass of water with a goldfish upside down. And they were concerned about contaminants coming through the water. 2011, got an article there about more wells high in nitrate. That was down in Gilbert. You can find things in the news almost every day about different contaminants and things that have made it into our water supply. Very well-known publication, U.S. News World Report. In the 1980s, they ran an article, "Is Your Water Safe?" And it talked about the things that come through people's water and whether this is things we need to be concerned about or not. As time's gone on, there's growing concern, rightfully so, because we're starting to realize that some of the things in water can affect the body at very minute amounts. The long-term effects were an experiment in process, and we will find out as time goes on. Hopefully we can help avoid being part of that experiment ourselves with just some small preventions. 2002, U.S. News World Report ran a similar article talking about just the aging infrastructure of our water systems. So the city sends water out through pipes. Those pipes are getting old. They're causing their own debris or contamination to the water. Plus, they're having issues with them breaking and failures. And every time that happens, you now introduce things from the environment, basically the ground that's around those water pipes. Now you've got a way for bacteria and other organisms to breach those water lines and end up in the water supply. The main point of sharing this information is not to scare people to say, "Oh my goodness, I can't drink another cup of tap water or I'm going to die." The purpose of this is to make people aware that tap water may have constituents in it that are not ideal for good health. The city does do a fantastic job of providing drinkable water to our homes. And a lot of people out there are confused about, well, what about water? Is all the hype really what it's cracked up to be? Is there really a difference, or is water just water? If you keep watching, we're going to talk a little bit about different water systems out there. And in the few minutes you watch this video, you're going to come away with some valuable information that you can use the rest of your life.